Larry, I'm sorry if this podcast doesn't really go very well today, but I don't really feel prepared. I didn't have a chance to review the material very much. I know we were going to reveal the exact location of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370.
Yes.
But unfortunately, I spent most of the morning, most of the day watching episodes back to back of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which is my new favorite show.
What?
Yes. I'm absolutely addicted to that show.
You Netflix fiend.
And yes, I got several prompts by Netflix of, are you still watching this? It almost says, really? Are you going to really keep watching more episodes? Don't you have something to do?
That's bad when a service asks you, you sure you want to keep using us? Don't you think you should go get a life?
Oh, hey, folks, this is the Unclear Thinking Podcast. Welcome to another episode. I'm Anthony Goodrow, and my co-host over there is Larry Smoke.
Howdy, folks.
And we're back to talk about stuff we find interesting, and we hope you do too. So, do you find yourself doing that? You're a Netflix subscriber, aren't you?
I am a Netflix subscriber. You know, I know you're a cord cutter. We talked about that before, and
Yes.
I am still tied to Comcast. But in all honesty, I think the only thing that still ties me to a cable television subscription is Atlanta Braves baseball. If Fox Sports South and Major League Baseball in general could do away with regional blackouts and I could get my Braves baseball on MLB.TV, which I subscribe to, and I watch some out-of-market games, but because I'm in the Braves market, I can't get that on MLB. If I could get that one last obstacle out of the way, I could cut the cord. I could live off of Netflix, Amazon Video, iTunes Video, and over-the-air HD broadcast. My wife, however, I don't know. But I myself,
Right.
I could cut the cord if it weren't for that one thing.
Well, that was a big issue for me too, because I did, when I got rid of my satellite about a year ago, I did miss ESPN. Mm-hmm. Now, there's been a slight change in that, a welcome new technology advance, in that on my Roku, which is how I get Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and whatnot, there is a new app out there called Sling TV.
Yeah, the Sling TV service. That's a breakthrough for cord cutters.
Big time, because they have ESPN and ESPN2 on there, which is just that's a big leap for me of being a big TV sports watcher.
Well, and the HBO Now service recently announced that's going to be a big boon to folks like you too. Mm-hmm. Instead of stealing your neighbor's HBO subscription for a login, you can actually do it on your own.
But I found that since I bought I bought two digital antennas for whatever I can catch over there, which is about 15 channels worth watching, and having the Roku, I pretty much have what I need as far as watching TV and movies and things like that. Things to now I watch differently. I'm not switching through 200 channels from the satellite. Thinking
and those of us who have 200 channels, there's 15 that I watch, and I'm confident that that's true of most folks that have cable or satellite television subscriptions. That they've got the 10 or 15 channels they watch all the time, and the rest of them is just stuff to pass as you're flipping.
Do we need 15 home shopping channels? Apparently so.
Yeah, I mean the market speaks.
It's making money for somebody.
Yeah. I don't get it, but hey, if you can make money off of it, more power to you. Well, do you find yourself? Do you think that because you're, I don't know if dependent's the right word, but because you utilize most of your television consumption through the streaming services, do you find yourself binge watching more than you think folks like me do, because we have stuff fed to us via the traditional outlets, via cable or satellite television?
I would say it's a significant portion of how I watch. And I guess it depends on how you define binge watching.
Yeah, well, that's a very vague term, and people define it different ways. How would you define it?
Probably when it gets in the way of life, and I find myself...
I guess if you get to the point where you're feeling guilty about it, it's a problem.
let's say when I watched Lost, at my worst, that was probably the worst example of binge watching.
Mm-hmm.
I was so into that show. I mean, I felt guilty enough watching the show because it's really, honestly speaking, it wasn't that good.
Mm-hmm.
But what they did best was the cliffhangers.
Mm-hmm.
They were masters at cliffhanging one episode to the next.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I probably watched 7 or 8 in one sitting,
Mm-hmm.
in which that's an hour show TV time, so probably 42
minutes.
Yeah. So that's a good 5.5, 6 hours.
Seven shows, 42. That's 100 and no, it's 280, 294. That's almost 6 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Aren't you folks impressed by that whiz bang math skill I have? That's that accounting degree coming into play. Oh, I'm a star for affirmation, aren't I?
But I must give a disclaimer that no children were neglected during my binge watching.
Well, you got that going for you then.
So yeah,
I think I would define binge watching as 4 or more in one sitting, and I mean that's not counting pee breaks or getting a drink, but if you sit down and before you do any other significant chore, you've knocked out 4 episodes, I'd call that a binge.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that. Me and the wife, we've done that a couple of times. When we first resubscribed to Netflix, I was on Netflix back in the DVD days for a short while, and then dropped out. But I got back into Netflix when House of Cards came about, and that intrigued me so much that I reactivated my subscription and switched it to streaming so we could do House of Cards. And we binged House of Cards. I think we binged the first 6 or 7 the first sitting, and then we binged the rest of it within several days of that. I can't remember whether it was a weekend or not. Second season, we kind of strung out pretty good. And actually, third season, as you and I recorded this episode, third season has been available for about 4 weeks now. And the wife and I still have, I think, 3 episodes of House of Cards to go. So, we've been knocking out like 2 here, 2 there. So I guess by that definition, we haven't binged this one. Now, you talk about Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, because I gave that a try just because the trailer that was running on YouTube looked so funny. And we've also talked before about how hard it is for me to find comedy that I really like. So I gave that one a try, and buddy, that thing is a riot. We watched 3 or 4 in a row of that one in the last week. I think we still got a couple of those to go. We haven't knocked out the whole season, but that could be binge-worthy.
I think it is. It is for me. It just they're short. They're 22 minutes, but it's very Seinfeldish in its comedy. But it kind of pokes fun at itself.
To me, it's a lot more rapid fire than Seinfeld. I mean, I agree with you that it's that same tone, but Seinfeld is a lot more laid back, and this is a lot more, rapid fire. And I like the rhythm of it.
And they'll one thing I noticed is they'll have callback jokes throughout an episode, but then near the end they'll kind of poke fun at themselves for trying to wear out a joke.
Yeah. And
I've seen them do that a couple of times. So it kind of takes it a step further. But now, don't you think that because it's somewhat of a cultural phenomenon, binge watching, that the services like Netflix and Amazon with their content they come up with, they release it a season's worth at a time.
Yeah.
For that reason. It's not.
If I don't know if binge watching has been around long enough that it's a societal problem, if it would ever become a problem. No. I mean, it's definitely a cultural thing. People do it, and people talk about doing it, and I don't know if it's a competition thing, but I've heard people say, "Oh, well, last weekend we did all of Orange Is the New Black," and we've got to get such and such done because we're planning on doing a whole season of 24 this coming weekend. So, I mean, you hear people talking about it, and it's a thing people enjoy doing and talking about amongst themselves. But I haven't seen or heard any studies or any serious sociological research that it's hindering our productivity as a society yet. The day may come. And I agree with you. I wondered the streaming services, most notably Netflix and Amazon. I'm not a Hulu subscriber myself, but I think I've heard that they have some original content of their own that they release in bulk in the same manner. Do these streaming services make it almost like giving a crack addict the first taste and hoping that he'll come back for more. They give us the whole thing. Well, we watch one. Well, that was good. I'll watch the next one. Well, that was good. I'll watch the next one. Instead of making us wait some arbitrary amount of time, be it several days a week, to match the old traditional broadcast television schedule. I don't know if it's a problem, but the libertarian in me kind of wants to say that people should be in control themselves. I mean, we shouldn't be dependent upon anybody, government, business, any kind of organization to do something to help us manage ourselves. That should be us. But at the same token, we all like our TV, dude. If you throw a bucket of it at us, we're going to watch it.
Lap it right up. I think it's probably more of a symptom of any problems that people have. If it's a problem, it's probably a symptom of a problem for whoever's doing that. Whoever's got a problem watching too much TV, they're going to watch TV, whether that's one program or not. But
it's a symptom more of the problem. As these technologies advance, and we have more and more of these distractions, for lack of a better word, available to us, it's only going to become more of an issue. I can see how it can happen. I mean, I can think back a decade ago. I think it was 05 or 06 that I first got HD television. Paid Comcast the extra money to get an HD signal coming in the house. And I was unmarried at the time. That was about the time that I was unmarried, and I was doing a lot of things to the house and the property, sprucing up things. I painted a few rooms and changed some things, and was making a lot of progress, and got HD television, and then I wasn't getting as much done. And then I got a Blu-ray came along, got a Blu-ray player, and then I wasn't getting as much done, and and then by the time I was engaged again, and somewhere in the next couple of years after that, remarried, and in that span of time, got Amazon Prime, and hey, all this free movie and TV availability comes with it, and hey, I think I'll sign up for Netflix again, and now all of a sudden I've got a couple of rooms that I never got around to, and and I said I was going to pressure wash the shop one day, and I haven't done it. So I like to harken back to what we're saying. I can see how it can happen. We've got these distractions in our lives, and binge watching is just one of many. The availability to binge watch is just one of many.
Well, yeah, I guess if you want to look at a positive aspect of it, since you do control the when and the where to a certain degree, if you find yourself involved in a TV show, you can pretty much carve out whatever time you want to now, as opposed to networks controlling the programming of the when. Then you've got to be in front of the TV at that time, regardless of what other responsibilities you have. Now, I guess there's some responsibility on yourself to not do like I do sometimes in the middle of the day, watch 5 or 6 or 7 episodes of a show. Now, I can get laundry done. I've done that many times.
Yeah.
So technically, I'm being productive, but I'm not out cutting the grass or painting the house or doing something.
Yeah, my yard work definitely suffers a little bit for it. My housework chores don't so much, but the yard work does suffer on it. There's been a few Saturdays that I've had to get out of bed. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do yard work now, because if I sit down in front of the television, I'll put it off till tomorrow, or it won't get done.
I actually had a discussion with my wife yesterday about how I was thinking about letting my backyard go natural, more like a natural wildlife habitat of our own.
Get it to the point where there's guys in black pajamas and AK-47s coming out of it.
So we'll see how that goes.
You talked about not being chained to a broadcast network schedule. There's a term for that I've read about. Time shifting is how that's described. Folks that manage the schedule of their television viewing without being a slave to the original airtime. And we think about that as DVRing mostly, and DVRing has probably been around. Well, it's been around. I started to say about 10 years, but I guess TiVo was around a little bit before the cable and satellite companies started offering their own DVRs. But anyway, the act of not being chained to the original schedule, and I wonder, I don't say it's good or bad, but it's definitely made things different. There was once upon a time that, as you said, everybody had to watch MASH Monday at 9 o'clock. I think that's when, if I can remember that far back. And so Tuesday morning, if something discussion worthy happened on that episode, everybody was talking about it. Well, we're not all watching the same thing at the same time anymore. So that, admittedly, small, minor thing that brought us as a culture together in some small way is all but gone.
Well, I'll give you a good example of that. There's a guy at work that doesn't have any streaming services, no Netflix, anything of that nature, but he's one of the guys or people that watches The Walking Dead faithfully. But he doesn't watch them when they come on. He collects them on his DVR, so to speak. And then when he gets a few hours, he'll watch. He'll binge them.
That's time shifting. Yeah, he's watching them when it suits him.
And so anytime at work, we say like, "Hey, did you see the latest Walking Dead?" He's like, "No, don't say anything."
No.
Hadn't seen it. No spoilers.
La 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 la. Okay, so now the proverbial water cooler discussion is gone, but in its place we've got something different. We've got the question we can ask, hey, what'd you watch last night? What are you watching now? I watched 7 episodes of Orange Is the New Black. It's great. You ought to check it out. What are you doing? So I guess maybe we're trading one thing for another.
Right.
Whether one's better than the other, I don't know. But I mean.
And that's exactly how it's happening. Not only do I want to talk about the shows that I watch with people that are also watching them, I want to know what I want to watch next. Because I've got, 3, 4, 5 shows going on right now that I'm keeping up with. But I'm also in the back of my mind going, I'm getting near the end of this one. What am I going to replace it with? Yeah. And I've watched several single episodes of certain series that I know I want to watch next, but I just can't fit them in right now. I welcome any input from people as far as what is a good show to watch right now. I've watched what is Peaky Blinders.
I've heard good things about that. I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things about it.
I've watched 2 episodes of that, and that's one I want to get back into. But like I said, I've got too much going on right now. I'm in season 6 of The Good Wife.
I'm gonna do that one of these days.
That is an outstanding show. Which you know why I avoided watching it for so long? Because I didn't know what it was about because of the title.
True. Yeah.
Nothing against women per se.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a very vague title. Yeah. I mean, that could be anything from a soap opera to a detective show to an in-depth character study. It could be anything. You're right. It's a very vague title.
But it's an excellent court drama with many backstories going on. So and it's one of those shows where you have to watch it as a series. It's not like Friends or How I Met Your Mother where you can pick one episode.
It's very serialized.
Yeah, it's very serialized. And you know what? Now that you mentioned that, one of my favorite shows of all time is Mad Men.
I like that too.
And I actually tried to watch it before I started watching it streaming. I tried to watch a standalone episode. I had no idea what was going on.
Lost.
And I said, I don't know what the fuss is about this show. It's not really that good. I'm not interested. Then I started watching from the beginning, and it's one of my favorite shows of all time.
I did the same thing. About the time that I resubscribed to Netflix, I got Mad Men was one of the first shows that I kind of started digging back into because of all the buzz. And you talk about Good Wife. That's the wife and I have this mental list that we talk about all the time that we call them retirement shows. It's all these shows that we want to see, but we don't have time to watch now. Well, when we retire, we're going to be too poor to do anything but sit around and watch television anyway. So that's one. We'll do all 7 years of Good Wife, then we'll do all 10 years of The West Wing because I never saw West Wing. Things like that. So we're already planning for 20 years in the future. Almost makes you wonder: is there too much stuff on television? Because we as a society we've reached a point where you can't watch everything. Back when it was the big 3 and PBS, you could watch everything that was worth watching. You might not would do much of anything else, but you could do it. Well, there's no way in hell. The quality. I mean, of course, there's a lot of crap out there too. If you have 500 channels, 250 of it could be crap, but 250 of it's great. That's a lot of great stuff.
Right.
And just there's no way everybody can keep up with the stuff that's worth keeping up with.
And which one of the I know both Netflix and Amazon have original content now. One of them, I think it's Amazon, releases pilots.
Yes, Amazon has pilot season.
Then they produce them based on their popularity. Is that not right?
That's correct. Every pilot season, they'll do a handful, release them and promote them, and ask at the end of each episode when you watch them on Amazon Prime Video, it will direct you to a survey on Amazon.com. And you answer several questions, and most of them are, how would you rank this 1 to 5? How likely would you be to watch it regularly? How likely would you be to recommend it? And it's like maybe 10 questions, if I remember correctly. And that's it. And yeah, based on those results, they decide which ones to pick up the series. And
there's one that I watched that I really liked, and I think I saw you mention it on Facebook or Twitter. I'm struggling with the name. The Man
in the High Castle.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
What a great concept.
It was a Philip K. Dick novel, a short novel. That's the author that wrote the stories upon which Blade Runner and Minority Report and Total Recall were based. And as those movies were vastly different from the source material, but just as good, Man in High Castle is different from the source material, but it has the exact same feel and message behind it. And it there are lots of times people you read a book and you're a fan of the book, and you see an adaptation. Oh, it's nowhere near as good as the book because they change so much. Well, this is a case where they changed some stuff. It's still great, and thankfully Amazon did pick it up. It'll be full series next year. I'm looking very forward to it. And
they'll probably release them all at one time.
That's been their habit so far. I don't see why they'd do it any different then.
Well, that goes on my list of shows to get into in the future.
Yeah, and get back to services with original content. That seems to be the thing. These services, licensing deals are so expensive that it's almost a better deal to produce their own content. I mean, yes, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Sony's Crackle service has some original content. Well, it's also Sony, but PlayStation Network has their first original series that was just, I believe, last week released to viewers. Microsoft, Xbox, they were going to take the Halo games and make a series of those. I believe they ended up doing a handful of them and making them, in essence, a TV movie. But still, if you're an Xbox Live member, you've got access to that particular program. Now, whether there'll be any more, I don't know. So many of these services are finding that it's more economical. Well, more economical and it's good advertising. I mean, if you have an exclusive that no one can get anywhere else, that's a reason for people to pay for that service. Well, and we were talking about television on a schedule. We at one time we knew what was coming on and when it was coming on, and we had to plan our activities around it. It's very likely that there's a generation, and it might not even be our children's generation, it might be the generation in between, that won't even understand the concept of a TV schedule. From the time they begin sitting in front of the electronic babysitter, that they know they can watch whatever they want whenever the heck they want to. So have you noticed that in your own children?
They have never. I can't recall one conversation about when something comes on TV, ever.
Yeah.
And there's an iPad with the Disney app on it that my little girl watches. Of course, it gets Netflix also, so she watches whatever show she wants to, whenever she wants to. Yeah, as far as not whenever she wants to, but
on demand. I mean, when she chooses, when you allow her to watch something, she can watch whatever she wants.
Right.
She doesn't have to worry about, it's not time for Captain so-and-so, Captain Kangaroo. Captain Kangaroo, God, I'm an old fogey. Listen to me.
Yeah. I wonder if I can find that on YouTube. I'm sure I could.
Everything's on YouTube somewhere, right?
But my son, he's like, him and his buddies, they do everything socially. When he's at home and none are around, they play video games together. But then they'll say, okay, we're tired of this game. Let's watch so-and-so show, and he can pull up Netflix on his Xbox.
Yeah.
And him and his buddies will sit there. They're watching Prison Break now.
Oh,
is
okay.
what they're watching. So another show that wasn't very good, but it just kept me. I quit watching through the last season because it got so entirely stupid. But
Well, if that's the
but
case,
anyway,
if that's the case, your boy's probably having a blast with that. I mean, a bunch of 12, 13-year-olds running their own little Mystery Science Theater 3000 there.
yeah, but that's what I've noticed about them is they don't care what comes on when. They know my son knows that Walking Dead comes on Sunday night on AMC, but we watch it whenever.
Yeah.
After it comes out. So AMC's on the Sling app, but it's also on Amazon. So if we don't catch it Sunday night, it's not a big deal. I've read recently that millennials, as they like to call them these days, watch more content on YouTube than anything else.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
So that's an indicator of where that's going.
As kids go, society goes eventually, right? I mean, they are the future, as the song goes. I think all societal change, but a lot of societal changes start with our entertainment, and this is just how home entertainment is changing. I mean, it was different. Our generation had some things that we watched and scheduled differently than our folks did watching Ed Sullivan and Dick Van Dyke Show, and our proverbial kids will have been different from us.
And I know more than anything, what people want to know is, well, we started to talk about the exact location of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, but
Yeah.
we'll have to do that next episode, and I'll put a little more preparation to the next one, I promise. But for today, my goal when we wrap this up is for me to finish the rest of the season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
And you won't tell me anything. La 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 la. Don't tell me anything.
Not a word about it. But you folks listening out there, I know I am. I don't know about Larry, but I am begging you to recommend new shows for me.
Oh yeah.
So if you have any shows you're watching that you binge watch that you really like, that you discovered, tweet them to me, email them to us.
And what Twitter handle would they use there, good Mr. Goodrow?
They can contact me at Anthony Goodrow, and you are at LA Smoke.
That is correct.
Of course, there's our email address, which is... What is our email address?
unclearthinking@gmail.com.
That's it. I knew it was something like that. Facebook us.
Yep, we're there too.
We're everywhere.
Google Plus.
And while I'm looking into the missing Malaysian Airlines plane, you can be researching Bigfoot.
Oh God, homework. Ugh.